As for where I studied, then walillahi alhamd, and all praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that I have been upon Salafiyya, or what we understood to be Salafiyya, since the late 1980s. Since the late 1980s. I was introduced to Salafiyya in around about 1988. My first, in those days, of course, this was, pre-computer, pre-mobile phones, pre-all of that type of era. So in that era, our contact with the Mashayikh and Ahlul Ilm was, scattered, to say the least. We had some brothers who studied at the Islamic University of Medina, and they had some contact with some of the great scholars there, like Sheikh Abdul Aziz bin Baz, Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen, who were of course alive at that time, and likewise the likes of Sheikh Al-Albani. And we would receive a lot of that information by way of those brothers who were studying. Then by about the mid-90s, or even before that, then we had myself, I had some direct contact with some of the Mashayikh and some of the students of knowledge who had studied themselves and are considered to be from Ahlul Ilm. From them were the likes of Sheikh Muhammad Abu Uthman Muhammad al-Anjari, under whom I studied and completed Usul Sunnah of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, and the likes of, from the other Mashayikh of Kuwait, under whom I studied the Aqeedah of Abu Bakr al-Ismaili. I had also, of course, the I'tiqad of Abu Bakr al-Ismaili. Likewise in that same era, meaning in the early 90s or mid-90s, I had studied Bulugh al-Maram with those same Mashayikh. And at the same time, we had started now visiting the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And from the Mashayikh that we met and we benefited from was Sheikh Rabi' bin Hadi al-Madkhali, hafidhahullah ta'ala. And that contact with him and sitting with him and benefiting from him and sitting in his durus has not ceased on a yearly basis. From that time till now, a year has not gone by, except that I have made myself 1 or 2 visits to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to sit with those Mashayikh and sit in their durus, not just to give salam and walk away, but to benefit from them where I could with questions, sitting with them, sitting in the durus. Also we made very strong contacts with the likes of Sheikh Ubaid bin Abdullah al-Jabari, under whom I had completed again Usul Sunnah of Imam Ahmad, the Aqeedah of the 2 Razis, As-Sunnah of the Raziyain, Abu Hatim and Abu Zur'a al-Razi. I completed under him, walillahi alhamd, Al-Usul al-Thalatha, Al-Qawaid al-Arba'a. Under him also the Aqeedah al-Salaf, Ashab al-Hadith of Imam al-Sabuni, Umdat al-Ahkam, chapters from it, Sahih al-Bukhari, chapters from it, Bulugh al-Maram, chapters from it, all of this under Sheikh Ubaid bin Abdullah al-Jabari, from the great scholars of Medina. Also with Sheikh Muhammad ibn Hadi, sitting in his durus whenever we had the opportunity, benefiting from him with questions in his house, in his masjid. Also Sheikh Abdullah bin Abdul Rahim al-Bukhari, hafidhahullah ta'ala. I spent a whole year living and studying in Kuwait under some of the Mashayikh of Kuwait. From them again Abu Uthman Muhammad al-Anjari, and other than him from the Mashayikh of Kuwait, Sheikh Ahmed Subai, Sheikh Tariq al-Subai. Also with Sheikh Abdullah al-Ghudayan, rahimahullah ta'ala. As you know that he was from the Lajna to Da'ima for a period of somewhere in the region of a quarter of a century, alongside Sheikh Abdul Aziz bin Baz. I knew him personally, he knew me personally. I studied with him directly from his voice over the telephone, and other than that, by sitting with him when we used to visit the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, I completed almost the whole of Kitab al-Tawheed with him, and other than that. So, and many of these Mashayikh and many of these scholars, from them Sheikh Muqbil bin Hadi al-Wadi'i, even though I did not study under him directly, then I have from him, walillahi alhamd, a tazkiyah dating back to 1998, and then he renewed it before he died, rahimahullah. We met him, I sat with him, even though I did not sit in any of his durus, but I knew him and he knew us, walillahi alhamd. Other than that, then there are other Mashayikh and scholars. Their names slip my mind at the moment because I wasn't expecting, of course, this question to be asked. And many of these Mashayikh, from them Sheikh Ubaid bin Abdullah al-Jabari, I consider myself to be one of his students, and he considers us to be from his students. We also have tazkiyat, myself from Sheikh Muhammad ibn Hadi, Sheikh Muhammad bin Hadi al-Madkhali, from Sheikh Rabi' tazkiyah, from Sheikh Abu Uthman Muhammad al-Anjari, Sheikh Ahmed al-Subai, And other than them from the Mashaykh, Shaykh Abdullah al-Ghudiyan, rahimahullah ta'ala, the Allama, the Mufti, from Shaykh Abdullah al-Ghudiyan, I have a tazkiyah also. So this is where generally, in a nutshell, that I can say that I benefited from, and I hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues to benefit me and benefit my brothers upon the Sunnah and upon Salafiyya, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes us humble and sincere, and I do not utter any of these words out of any boasting or out of any arrogance or out of desire for any praise from anybody, but only from the aspect that when an individual says that you are commanding us or you are telling us to be aware of who we are taking knowledge from, then we need to know about you also. So I'm only informing you from that bab. You may ring Shaykh Rabi' if you wish. You may ring Shaykh Muhammad ibn Hadi. You may ring Shaykh Ubaid bin Abdullah al-Jabari. You may ring Ahmed al-Sibai. You may ring Shaykh Muhammad al-Anjari. And I would say that my greatest and longest tutorship is under two. Is under Shaykh Ubaid bin Abdullah al-Jabari and Shaykh Abu Uthman Muhammad al-Anjari. These are the two greatest influences. And then thereafter, I would say the other two, Shaykh Rabi bin Hadi al-Madkhali and Shaykh Muhammad bin Hadi al-Madkhali. Barakallahu feekum. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy upon those who have died from amongst them. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give a long life and preserve those who are alive from amongst them and preserve them upon the Sunnah.